Hi, my name is China Gupta, and for Banned Books Week, I'm going to be talking about Of Mice and Men, written by John Steinbeck. So, this book is banned from a classroom in Scottsboro, Alabama, Skyline High School, and this was in 1983 due to profanity. But since then, there have been countless other schools that have banned this book. So this book is set in 1937 and is about two guys, George and Lenny, and Lenny has a mild mental disability and likes to pet soft things. They also have a special friendship and they share the same dream of wanting to make something more out of their life. And they don't want to just be ranchers, they want to own a piece of land and farm it, and Lenny wants to have a bunch of bunnies. So yeah, the book is important because it shows two guys that are great friends and shows the importance of having compassion. Also, the book talks about how George and Lenny have each other's back no matter what, and how they overcome loneliness, which shows how loneliness can be the cause of human suffering. So the excerpt I'm going to read is from chapter 2, and it's when George and Lenny go to apply for a job, and George tells Lenny not to talk and is basically going to do the talking for them because he thinks that if Lenny talks, they're not going to be able to get this job and basically have their dream that they want to live. So, okay, the boss squinted his eye. Well, I had to send the grain team's short two buckers. Won't do any good to go out now till after dinner. He pulled his time book out of his pocket and opened it, where a pencil was stuck between the leaves. George scowled meaningfully at Lenny, and Lenny nodded to show that he understood. The boss licked his pencil. What's your name? George Milton. And what's yours? George said his name is Lenny Small. The names were entered in the book. Let's see, this is the 20th, noon the 20th. He closed the book. Where you boys been working? Up around the weed, said George. You too, to Lenny? Yeah, him too, said George. The boss pointed a playful finger at Lenny. He ain't much of a talker, is he? No, he ain't, but he's sure hell of a good worker, strong as a bull. Lenny smiled to himself. Strong as a bull, he repeated. George scowled at him, and Lenny dropped his head in shame of having forgotten. The boss said suddenly, Listen, Small. Lenny raised his head. What can you do? In a panic, Lenny looked at George for help. He can do anything you tell him, said George. He's a good skinner, he can wrestle grain bags, drive a cultivator. He can do anything, just give him a try. The boss turned on George. Then why don't you let him answer? What are you trying to put over? George broke in loudly. Oh, I ain't saying he's bright. He ain't. But I say he's a goddamn good worker. He can put up a 400-pound bale. The boss deliberately put the little book in his pocket. He hooked his thumbs in his belt and squinted one eye nearly closed. Say what you sellin'? Huh? I said what stake you got in this guy? You taking his pay away from him? No, course I ain't. Why you think I'm selling him out? Well, I never see one guy take so much trouble for another guy. I would just like to know what your interest is. George said, He's my cousin. I told his old lady I'd take care of him. He got kicked in the head by a horse when he was a kid. He's all right, just ain't bright, but he can do anything you tell him. The boss turned half away. Well, God knows he don't need any brains to buck barley bags, but don't you try to put nothing over Milton. I got my eye on you. Why'd you quit and weed? Job was done, said George promptly. What kind of job? We were digging cesspool. All right, but don't try to put nothing over, 'cause you can't get away with nothing. I see wise guys before. Go on with the grain teams after dinner. They're picking up barley at the threshing machine. Go out with Slim's team. Slim? Yeah, big tall Skinner. You'll see him at dinner. He turned abruptly and went to the door. But before he went out, he turned and looked for a long moment at the two men. When the sound of his footsteps had died away, George turned on Lenny. So you wasn't going to say a word. You wasn't going to leave your big flapper shut and leave me to do the talking. Damn nearly lost us the job. So if you haven't read this book, I definitely recommend it. It's a classic, and it definitely does not deserve to be banned, just because of its profanity, because that's not really a good reason to ban this book when it has a deeper meaning and more to it than just that.